Hello and welcome back to another video. In today's video we are starting kind of a personal project that I decided to record and basically vlog my experience while doing it. It will be something that will be taking quite a long time probably to fulfill, but basically I want to read one book from each country in the world, and basically I decided to vlog it. And in today's episode we will be traveling to 3 different countries. We will be going to China, then we will be going to Ireland, and then we are going to finish this book in Brazil. But before we get to the review portion of this video, let me present to you the to be read list, or in this case, as I'm filming this, the already read part, because for some reason I forgot to film the introduction to this video. So the first book we will be reading in this video will be The Three-Body Problem by Cixin, and this is a sci-fi novel that involves aliens. Then we will be going to Ireland with Beautiful World, Where Are You by Rooney. This is a book I have on for many years and I kept putting it off because I don't know. I think I'll talk more about it in the clip where I review this book. And this is, by the way, a lit fic that follows a group of 4 friends. And then, for Brazil, we will be reading The Words That Remain by Stenio Gardel. And this is a romance novel, not a rom-com. A romance novel, and it follows this 71-year-old man who he's illiterate and he was born in a very poor area in Brazil, but he has this letter that he has carried with him since he was in his teens, and because he's illiterate he never read it, but now at 71 he decides to go on the journey to learn how to read so he can finally read the letter. So let's get to the reviewing portion of this video, which is I think the part you came here for. Hi, so I am currently reading, I'm on chapter 2 of The Three-Body Problems, and this book already threw me for a little loop, because I know this book basically it takes place during the Chinese Cultural Revolution, so I was expecting it to talk about history and dictatorship and censorship, but right at the beginning of the book it is a very strong theme, so I wasn't expecting this to be such a big theme on this book. Also, there was a lot of talk of physics, and fun little fact, physics was always that one subject in school where no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I studied, my brain was always, do not compute. Give me geography, give me history, give me any other subject, give me chemistry. I would get a really good grade. Even give me math, maybe I would do decent in it. Give me physics, my brain is to not compute. And the beginning of this book is so much talk of physics, I was kind of surprised and I don't know what to expect about it anymore. Hopefully, actually, I feel like there will be even more talk of physics because there is a glossary of characters and character names. Hi, so it's been a few days and I did finish reading The Three-Body Problem. I don't remember what was the last thing I said in my midway check-in with this book, but basically The Three-Body Problems, it follows a group of scientists and Chinese officials, a group of people as they try to formulate a plan to avoid an imminent alien invasion. If you go on Goodreads, this is a very popular book. It is also very highly rated. It has an average rating of 4.08 stars, but for me, I actually didn't enjoy it. I gave it 2 stars. So let me explain why I didn't enjoy it, why I am one of the few people that actually didn't like this book. I can actually divide the reasons why I didn't enjoy The Three-Body Problems in 3 different categories: pacing, characters, and plot. So let's start by the pacing. As I said, this book follows a group of officials trying to formulate a plan to avoid an imminent alien invasion. So we start the book in one timeline. We follow this professor. It is in the middle of the Cultural Revolution and he's basically being murdered because he doesn't fit the idea of what the Chinese government wants their professors to be like. And then we follow on a second timeline his daughter, where she goes to work at this military base where they're basically trying to get in touch with aliens and send some kind of message to aliens. And then we follow on a third timeline this professor, I think it's Wang Miao, Professor Wang Miao, and he studies, I think it's nanomaterials. It's basically this material that is super strong and that can create really powerful weapons. And one day some very weird stuff starts happening in Wang's life, so he goes and tries to investigate and understand what is going on. At the same time, he's helping with the Chinese and actually the whole world's military on formulating its plan to avoid the imminent alien invasion. The thing about the pacing is that this book is advertised as a book about an imminent alien invasion. I knew what this book was about, but when it comes to the book, to the reading experience of this book, this information that we get when we buy the book, this information that the book is about an imminent alien invasion, it takes over halfway of the plot. Halfway of the book. I was halfway through this book when it came to the reader's attention that what the whole point of the book is about. It felt like reading like a Mariana Zapata book, except that on a Mariana Zapata book, you know what the point of all those menial details are for. They are for telling you the love story between two people and the struggles that they have in their lives. In this book, if it wasn't for the back, I would have no idea. And even knowing what was the point of this book, I was still trying to figure out how would those details tie in with the point of it, with the point of this plot. And then it does tie in. But still, it takes halfway through the book for us to understand what the point is. It takes even more pages for us to understand where the plot is going, and overall I was bored. For me, so it was a snooze fest. I was really bored throughout 98% of the book. Now I think we can move on to the plot. So this book is very science heavy. The ideas are nice, but the discussion about science it's very strong in this book, which personally it's not my taste. If I want to read about really sciencey stuff, I will read a non-fiction book or a non-fiction paper. When I go and read a science fiction novel, sorry for someone at their bike. Oh, the sounds of the big city. Going back. When I go to read a science fiction novel, I personally prefer things that are a little bit more weird. In general, I like more campy aspects when it comes to plot lines, but especially when it comes to sci-fi or fantasy or any speculative fiction. I prefer when it has something super weird, like the metamorphosis of bunnies into humans, or a weird area where weird stuff keeps happening. I like weird stuff. It's my personal taste. And this book didn't deliver that. It was very science heavy. The science talk was so strong, especially physics. And I think I said this in the previous clip in my midway catch up, my midway check-in when I was reading this book. But physics was never really my subject. It's crazy, but it's been almost 10 years since I graduated high school, and all throughout high school I would get really high grades in almost every single subject, and subjects I wasn't getting consistent really high grades, I was getting good grades. I was a good student. But when it came to physics, my grades not that great, because physics was always that one subject where my brain was like, I do not compute. And the teacher would go and see my grades and he would be like, what is going on? Why does this keep happening? Because I know you study, I know you pay attention to my classes, I know you all have really good grades in every single other subject. Why does in physics you are like that? Why does in physics your grades it's that? I still don't have an answer for that. My brain's not that great when it comes to physics. And this book was so heavy in physics. So I was bored. At times it was like, what is going on? I was feeling lost during this heavy science talk because for some reason my brain just doesn't like this physics. But also I was just bored. I was really bored. And again, it didn't help that I didn't understand what was the point for all of the science talk, because there is an alien invasion, but why do we need all this physics to combat an alien invasion? Then we figure out why. But by that point I was already very bored. Now let's go to the characters, because another thing that really annoyed me about this book is that these characters, they felt so one-dimensional. They would have a job and one character trait, and that's everything you need to know about them, because that's everything that matters in the book. So we would have the police guy who has questionable morals, and his whole personality is that his morals are questionable, and that's all you need to know, because all he does throughout the book is that he does police work, and he has some questionable tactics to his work, and then occasionally he says something, and then you understand that even though he has questionable morals, he's the most sane out of all these people. Have the physics professor we follow, the dude that is studying nanomaterials. He has a family, we hear about it in like one chapter, and then we don't hear about this family ever again. We just know that he works with nanomaterials, that he's being targeted by the aliens, and that's it. That's pretty much it. And he wants to understand, he really cares about his research, so he needs to figure out how to make the aliens not invade Earth. And that's pretty much it. They felt so one-dimensional. They have a job, they have one personality trait. There is no nuance to the characters. Before I finish this review, if you like books where a character is jumping in and out of a video game, maybe you will enjoy actually the Three-Body Problem, because it's an important plot point is that our nanomaterial physician, no physician, it's doctor in English. The physicist, the dude that is doing the research, Professor Wang, he enters and he goes and he plays this game called the Three-Body Problem, or the Three Bodies, where he goes to this weird nation, the weird world, where he needs to figure out this big mystery. So if you like this aspect of this on a story, you might enjoy the Three-Body Problem. But personally, I gave this book 2 stars, but I am in the minority. I am definitely in the minority. People seem to really enjoy this book, but for me, it isn't exactly my taste. I definitely prefer something that it is a little bit more on the campy, on the weird side, than on the very science-heavy side. Oh, I also forgot to add this in the review, but another thing about the Three-Body Problem that I felt is that, you know how on a fantasy series or any series in general, sometimes you start reading the book that is in the middle, and like the third book, the middle book, basically. You know how the middle book in a fantasy series, it pretty much feels like it is a middle book and it is building up to something, to the finale of the series, the finales of maybe the fantasy trilogy. The Three-Body Problem's first book, because the Three-Body Problem is indeed a series, it's a trilogy, but I felt like this first book, it felt pretty much like it suffered a lot with the middle book syndrome, where it felt like mainly build up to the other two books in the series, which honestly I'm not sure if I will continue reading this book series. I need to watch the TV series, the Netflix series first, and see if I enjoy that, and maybe I'll give a chance to the second and the third book. I did read a blurb on the internet about what these other two books are about, and they sound interesting, but I'm not sure. We need to figure that out later. Hello, so it's been a few days and I'm a little bit over halfway through Beautiful World Where Are You by Sally Rooney, and as I was expecting, I am loving this book. I can't put it down unless I need to put it down, because otherwise I will be reading this book. I really like Sally Rooney's writing style, and there's just something about it. I really enjoy it. So I feel like at this moment in the book I can tell you what this book is about. It follows four people around their late 20s, early 30s, and three of them have been friends for a long time, and then there is someone that is new to the group. So we follow two boys, two girls. The girls they met in college, they were roommates, and they are really good friends, and throughout the book they share some emails to update about their lives, talk about what they're thinking, what they're doing. And every few chapters in the book we do get an email from of them talking about their lives. But most of the chapters are from a third person narrator that is just giving us vignettes about what these characters are doing, what they're thinking. So basically, as I said, the girls, they are really good friends. They met in college. Then we have this boy named Simon, who he's really good friends from for a long time, since they were kids. He's really good friends with this girl called Eileen, who is one of the people in this group. Then we have Felix, who met the other girl in his friend group through Tinder, and we have Alice, who is an author, and you read her and you can't help but imagine Sally Rooney mirrored a lot of her personality in Alice, probably. There's just some things that Alice does and thinks and says that it feels very Sally Rooney, and it feels like almost Sally Rooney poking fun at people that criticize her, which actually I found to be a very common theme in this book. It talks about Marxism, it talks about religion, and we have people that are very, I don't know how to explain. Some of the characters are very millennial-esque Marxist people, kind of like a caricature of that, even though I say like they're a caricature, but I feel like I know people that think and act like the characters in this book. And at moments I identify with the characters in this book, which is something I'm finding really cool. Anyway, because these characters, they're not like a whole deep, but they are deep characters. There are a lot of things going on in their lives, and there are things about them that I relate to, that I identify with myself. There are others that totally different from me, but I can see people that I know in real life in these characters. I don't know if it is easy to understand what I just said, but I also think it's cool how this character is showing that weird moment in life where you have friends that are getting married, you have friends that have these incredible jobs, you have friends that are in not that great of jobs, and all these differences that go on in life. Because here we have Alice, who is this super successful novelist, very Sally Rooney-esque, and then we have Felix, who works in a warehouse, and then we have Simon, who works for this small political party, but then we have Eileen, who works for this literary magazine, and she doesn't have a big salary, and she lives in this tiny apartment full of roommates, while her friend from college, Alice, is making a lot of money, and she lives in this giant house in the countryside, because this book also takes place between Dublin and I think it's some kind of island or countryside Ireland, not 100% sure what it is. But again, I'm really enjoying. This book is amazing, and I talked ear this bard in the book because I found it hilarious. I don't think it was meant to be hilarious, but the girls, they don't really believe in God. Felix also doesn't really believe in God. They are atheists. But then we have Simon, who is a devout Catholic, and at some point in the book, one of the girls goes to mass with Simon, and her comments, for me, as a person that is Catholic herself, for me, it was just so funny. And I don't think it was meant to be funny, but I don't know, I just thought it was funny. She acts like, I think she thought Simon would become a completely different person when he goes to mass. Then they say things like those things you say at a Catholic mass, and then she's like, "What? I'm confused, but also intrigued." I thought it was so funny. Here there is one phrase from this section. I know I keep saying how ordinary he was, but it was precisely the seeming absence of any change in his personhood, precisely the fact that he went on being fully and recognizably the same man as always, that was so mystifying to me. Like, girl, what do you think was going to happen? That he will go to mass and then he would go to a 180 and become a completely different person? I don't know, I just thought it was so funny and interesting. And that's Beautiful World. Where are you so far? I will continue reading, and then when I finish I'll give you a final rating, because I think I already rambled a lot in this section. So I finished reading Beautiful World, Where Are You by Rooney, and for a moment there I was thinking this is a 4-star book, but I'm pretty sure it is a 5-star book because it does fit the criteria for 5-star books for me, in the sense that I feel like this book rewired my brain. So I finished reading The Word That Remains, and this book is just something. It is just so incredible. I'm in love with this writing. It's just so beautiful, so poetic, so powerful. I know this book was translated to English, but I read it in the original Portuguese, and as a language nerd, I do wonder how they translated some of the words in this book, because in English some of those words, they just won't make sense in the context just because of the way they sound, of the way they are written, cadence of the words. Also, there are some words that they are very culturally specific to Brazil and also to the area where this book takes place. But besides that, this book, it was just so beautiful. This is a love story, but it is not only a story about romantic love, it is also about platonic love and family love. And it was not what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting to love this book so much. I'm just so in love with it. It's just so beautiful. If you like the poetic writing, if you like extremely beautiful writing, I do recommend this book a lot. So I gave it 5 stars because this book rewired the way my brain is working, and surprisingly there was only 2,000 reviews on Goodreads, and this book it deserves more reviews. It deserves more hype. It's one of the most beautiful things I ever read. I don't want to talk more about it because going blind, it is a good thing. I think it is a good experience. I definitely knew a bit about what this book was just because of what it is written in the back of the book, but most of it I had no idea what would happen. This book is out of my comfort zone in a way, but I'm so glad I got out of my comfort zone because I'm truly in love with it. And The Word That Remains it's a 5-star for me. It's a new favorite and I might recommend to a lot of people. Definitely not everyone, because this book, by the way, if I forget to tell you, but some trigger warnings. This book talks a lot about homophobia and violence, so beware if those are things that triggers you. But overall, the most beautiful book I read this year, and one of the most beautiful books I ever read. This is it for this video, and overall it's actually, I would consider this a very successful reading vlog because we actually got 2 5 stars in it. Let's just wrap this up. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you very soon. If you have any recommendations for books from different countries, from preferably countries that aren't the United States or England, because I have quite a few of books from those countries in my TBR, but if you have any recommendations from books by authors from other countries, I would thank you a lot, because I do want to read more authors from a variety of different backgrounds, and it will help me in this little challenge of trying to read books from across the whole world, because I do have some books I want to put in this challenge, but there are some countries where I just don't have a book I think I want to read, or I didn't find a book that is from the country and that was translated into a language I understand. So if you have any, please leave in the comments below. And yeah, this is it for this video, and hopefully I will see you soon. Bye.